Hello, this is GERRE Singer of Tankard. You're listening to Sonic Perspectives. Keep on banging.
Yesterday I met her, the woman of my dreams. She looked so fine through bottles of cheap wine. So we drank together, the pop was my heaven. I took her home.
Hello, everybody. This is Jonathan with Sonic Perspectives, and I'm here with the one and only Jerry of Tankard, or as I like to refer to him as the Brewmeister of Frankfurt.
Hello, nice talking to you.
Yes, it's great to have you here. So to start off with, I believe there is currently a new album that is in the works for Tankard, correct? Is it being recorded or is it almost finished? Or?
No, it's not 100% finished. We go back to the studio next weekend to check all the vocal melody lines. And maybe we have to repair something. We will see. We will check it out. But I would say 95% of the recordings are finished, and the album will be out on Reaper Entertainment in September this year.
Okay, great. So about roughly 5 years from when One Foot in the Grave came out.
That's right. So, maybe the title will be One Foot Out of the Grave. We will see.
And actually, that's what I wanted to get into next, because you also have a box set that's coming out very soon that includes all of the almost all of the material that you put out from the beginning of the band up until the mid 1990s. And one of the things that I've observed about Tankard in comparison to the rest of the Teutonic thrash scene is that you were not really afraid to engage in comedy sometimes. In fact, over here, we call you the Anthrax of the Teutonic Big Four.
Yeah, so we called our second demo tape Alcoholic Metal back in '85 just for fun, because at that time, there were thrash metal and black metal and all this poser stuff, and so we did a joke. And then, of course, later on, we did everything for this kind of beer image with albums like Chemical Invasion and The Morning After. And later on, we wanted to get rid of this kind of image a little bit, but it totally failed, of course. And so nowadays we're gonna make some good jokes about our own image we created at that time. But you are right, Tankard was always a band who combines thrash metal with a kind of humor. But we always try to do a good mixture of funny and serious lyrics. But a lot of people just reduce Tankard to this beer thing. But beginning from the second album, Chemical Invasion, we have also very serious lyrics. Like One Foot in the Grave. A lot of journalists ask me, "Oh, now you're doing writing lyrics about social problems," and I said, we did that since '87. Forget about the lyrics about zombie attack, because we were 14, 15 years old. It was just about horror movies and stuff like that. And but you're right. And the main thing, we don't take ourselves too seriously, and we still have a lot of fun to play thrash metal. And this is a good combination, thrash metal and fun, and that really fits to us as persons.
Yeah, excellent. And that's part of what I wanted to get into with the box set, is that you get a good variety. You basically get almost the entire evolution of Tankard as a band. You go from almost entirely comedy in the beginning, and then when you get to the end with the Tankard, it's a much more serious sound, and not just the lyrics, but the music I found to be a lot more nuanced, I guess is the best word to describe. There was more saving the really fast moments for the right time and using more groove and also using melody a lot more directly. And I know it was probably not your best-selling album, but it was one of the first albums I heard by you, and it still holds a special place to me.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I really would. I still love the Tankard too, except the cover that was not so brilliant. It was just a picture of a pub in London, in Great Britain or somewhere. So, but I think the Tankard is really an outstanding album comparing to all the other albums. And I mean, if you go 3 years later to Disco Destroyer, it was really, really back to old school thrash metal again. And yeah, a lot of melody lines, a lot of work with the vocals, and yeah, people who should not know this album, yeah, should yeah, listen to it maybe once, and maybe they find some good songs. But I still like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this box set will give everyone the opportunity to get a physical copy of that album. And to this day, I do not have a physical copy. I had a copied audio cassette from back in 1997 that a friend gave me of it because it was almost impossible to find over here in the United States. But yeah, I think prior to the internet, the only album of yours that I had a actual physical CD for was The Meaning of Life. I think that was the only album that really did a lot in this country in terms of sales.
Yeah, so looking back in our history, The Meaning of Life was the the best-selling album and the most successful album we ever had. But you know, you're not able to compare any sales from the 90s, beginning of the 90s until nowadays. Yeah, it's totally different. And yeah, you sell very less physical items. And yeah, so if you have a look at official German charts, there are a lot of heavy metal bands in, because, you know, the metal fans are old school and they buy a CD or vinyl, very conservative concerning that point. And yeah, so this is, you ordered a pizza.
Yeah, no, actually, that was a telemarketer. We get those calls all the time in here in America. It's one of the, I'm very jealous about Europe. You have laws against them calling you unless you ask them to. I don't know if it's that way in Germany, but I know in Scandinavian countries, they have very tight regulations on that stuff.
You just have to tell them a wrong name and then they hang up.
Yeah, I just hung up on we have work to do here. So yeah,
so yeah, we were talking about this selling stuff, but yeah, it's for us. It's very important that I mean, we brought out that stuff via Noise Records in the 80s until the from 86 until 95, and then the rights went to Sanctuary and now to BMG. For us as a band, it's very important that all the stuff is available. And now they ask us to do this kind of box. And this is, this is a great item to start in our, celebration year of 40 years of Tankard.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to do like a sort of a rapid pace thing where we kind of talk a little bit about each album, and we might even have a little time for the extras like the Alien EP also. But starting with Zombie Attack, it was released in 1986, but when I listen to it, I get a very strong 1984 vibe, and I think some of the music on there was written that far back. It reminded me a lot more of early Exciter and maybe the first Metallica album, and a little bit of Slayer's Show No Mercy, a little bit of punk rock influence. It's very raw and it's very fast, and it sounded like it just came out a year or two later than it wanted to.
Yeah, so the songs are 2, 3, 4 years old on that album, and our farmer guitar player Axel, he was really a big punk fan, and the album is quite a little bit punk influenced, I really would say. And then the step was very big the next year to Chemical Invasion. I mean, we were all fans of the new wave of British heavy metal, end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s. And then the first Exodus came out, the first Metallica, the first Slayer, the first Exciter you mentioned, one of my all-time fave albums, Heavy Metal Maniac. And so we were really influenced by that. And the songs of Chemical Invasion, they were written in 1 year. And so that was, yeah, our breakthrough in Germany and Europe, Chemical Invasion, and yeah, a lot of more thrash metal than Ensemble Attack.
Yeah, I would say that Chemical Invasion almost felt like it could have been a Bay Area thrash album. And I say this as someone who heard it almost 10 years after it was released, because I didn't discover thrash metal until Metallica's One, and then I didn't get a really good collection of it until much later. But as you went from Chemical Invasion on, the style of Tankard began to evolve more. And when you get to The Morning After, you're still playing very fast and aggressive, but I noticed that the music was getting a little more complex. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, some songs are a little bit more complex. And yeah, and we had the chance to do our very first video clip The Morning After in '88. And a very funny clip if you're gonna find it on YouTube or somewhere. And yeah, a little bit more complex. That's right.
Yeah. And then The Meaning of Life, in addition to the music being a little bit different than what came before, I noticed the album art was a very interesting combination of, you had mentioned that you're both serious and you're also not afraid of comedy also. And the image of the Pope and Mike Tyson together looking like they're thinking philosophically with a stein in their hand is just an image I can't get out of my head.
Yeah, it's an amazing cover artwork, and yeah, as I told you before, our most successful album. And yeah, we did all albums with Harris Jones in this area from '86 to 95, and then also 98 Disco Destroyer and 2000 Kings of Beer, and then we changed the producer. Yeah, we went to another extra studio to do the mix, and yeah, quite cool songs on it.
Absolutely. And I noticed that the guitar tone on The Meaning of Life was a bit different too. It sounded a little bit more polished, and it had a little bit more of like, I want to say it had that kind of punch to it that you heard a lot with American thrash bands in the early 90s. There was less noise and a little bit more control to the guitar sound.
Yeah, it's a little bit more polished. You're right. The Morning After, it was a little bit a very wild guitar sound, I really would say.
Yeah. So most of the albums from this era, you had a two-guitarist arrangement. I think that changed when you got to the Tankard, though. That's when you went to one guitar. And I think
it's because before we recorded the album, our guitar player Axel left the band, and we decided to go on with 4 members. And yeah, but we didn't change our mind till yet, but maybe one day we will be 4, 5. I don't know. We will see.
yeah, in America.
I mean, in the studio, it's no problem. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you have you have 6, 7, 8 guitars. You know, to record. But yeah, live. But yeah, I think we arrange it good for the live action and for the live performance. And yeah, but I learned something in the last 40 years: never say no.
I got you. Yeah, yeah. In the live setting, that extra guitar player has more function when there's a guitar solo going on. But some bands like Overkill back in the day, they did everything with just one guitar, and it was just as heavy as the stuff that Metallica and Anthrax were doing with 2 guitars. So it works. It definitely works.
Right.
Okay, so are there? I hate to ask this question because everybody asks this question, so I'm going to ask it a different way because everybody asks a band, what's your favorite album? And I know that the answer to that is either the first album or whichever album is the newest, because I'm also a musician and you always love your newest work. But instead, I would ask, of all the albums in the box set, which one do you think was the most challenging as in terms of songwriting and also production? Like, which one do you think challenged you the most?
Oh, this is a very difficult question. You're right. I always answer the first one because it always started with, and if I had to choose one, maybe Stone Cold Sober. We had some brilliant songs on it, like Broken Image, the title track. So the first song in German language, Freibier für alle, it means free beer for all. Otherwise, there will be some riots. And yeah, maybe a little bit together with the Tankard, maybe a little bit the underrated album. So I pick up Stone Cold Sober.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely a good reason. I mean, speaking as an American who's lost all of the languages of my ancestry, whether it's Gaelic or French, there's something special about being able to perform a song in your own language. And just in case you're wondering, my Deutsch ist scheiße. So
that sounds great.
I've only been to Frankfurt twice, and both times it was for an airplane layover. So if anybody asks, every time I hear Sprechen Sie Deutsch, I always say, Nein, nur ein paar Worte.
That sounds good.
That's all I know, though. Okay, so one final thing I wanted to get into, the time period of the box set, it begins in the mid 80s when metal was at its height in terms of popularity and in terms of, I guess you could say, in terms of its market value. And then it ends where metal was struggling the most, especially here in America back in 1995. I've interviewed a couple of American artists recently, and they all told me that by 1993, if you weren't playing like Pantera or Biohazard, you were dropped from your label. And a lot of them either quit or they moved to Europe or Japan to try to keep their band going. So was there a change in the German market at around the time of Stone Cold Sober or Two-Faced where it became more difficult to sell albums? Or
I mean Stone Cold Sober was 92 and Two-Faced was 94. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it started like at that time, 94, until the end of the 90s. Metal in general was, it was never dead, but it was, not so popular anymore. We had also this grunge wave here,
yes.
And especially thrash metal was, not really popular, but we kept on going in those years. We had less shows and nobody was really interested in buying records like Disco Destroyer in 98. And but we never gave up. And that makes us a little bit proud, to be honestly, because we never split up. There was no fucking reunion after 10 years. We are here since 40 years. Everything is good. And so then in the beginning of 2002, we changed the label, no new producer. It was something like a little bit like a restart, I would say, for Tankard. And since these days, it goes better, I really would say. And we are still here now, 40 years. And but these were the most hard times between 94, 95, and 99.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I think by the late 90s, there was beginning to be a revival of the style in parts of Europe, but I don't think it really took hold until a couple of years later. I think they refer to the phenomenon now as the new wave of thrash metal or old school thrash metal. And there's a lot of new bands coming out of Europe and even some coming out of the United States now, mostly in California though. Are there any newer bands that you've encountered either in Germany or parts of Europe that are playing in the old style that you've taken a liking to at all?
Yeah, we have a lot of younger bands playing thrash metal like Space Chaser from Berlin, and I don't know, 100 of other bands. And yeah, it's great when these younger bands when they are talking about, yeah, our influence was Tankard. I mean, that makes us also a little bit proud. And there is a real cool thrash metal scene over here. That's everything is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, there's not as much of one here. Before we close up, I wanted to ask also, I know that you've only played a few shows, I think, recently in the United States. I think it wasn't your first show here in Minnesota back in like 2006. There was a metal festival up there, I think.
Yeah, 2006. That's right. 2006, yeah. and then another festival a couple of years ago. And yeah, so back at that time in the end of the 80s, yeah, so we decided not to live from the music. So it was very hard for us to go 3 or 4 or 5, 6 weeks on tour. But of course, we really would love to come back for a couple of shows and have a beer together. But now at the moment, the situation especially in Germany is there are no concerts at the moment because of this Corona thing, and we hope that it will get better in summer.
Yeah,
but it would be great to come over for a couple of shows and to drink your local beer.
Yes. Yeah. My area, Pennsylvania, sometimes they refer to us as Little Germany. There's a very big German diaspora here, and we have our own Oktoberfest and everything.
Yeah, great. So another reason to come over.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're ever playing in Philadelphia, that's the closest city. But even if you're in New York, I'll make the trip to catch you live.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Oh, is there anything else that you would like to tell the fans or the audience about either the new box set or about the upcoming album?
Yeah, the box set, there are 2 versions. You have vinyl with a little book inside, and you have also as a CD version. And of course, looking forward for the next album in September. And of course, thanks a lot for all the supporters worldwide. Without the fans, we would be nothing.
All right, great. Well, that has been...
the last thing I have to say, it's of course, stay healthy, everybody. Stay thirsty. And the most important thing, stay heavy.
Absolutely. Words to live by. All right. Well, with that, I guess we're going to finish up now. It's been great talking with you, Jerry. Am I saying the name right? Is it Gary or Jerry?
GERRE, because it's a nickname. My family name is Geremia. It's an Italian name, Jeremiah.
Okay.
But nobody tells me Andrew, so I'm GERRE. That's okay.
Okay, GERRE. All right, I'll get that right next time. Like I said before, my pronunciation is not that good.
Everything is good. So maybe we talk again when the new album comes out in September.
Okay, yeah, looking forward to it.
Thanks a lot for your support. Have a nice day, evening, whatever of time you have.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.